Welcome to episode 2 of TFT. This is APA. What is APA? Whoa, Nelly, back that truck up. Before we can get into what APA is, we need to talk about what style guides are. So what are style guides? Well, they're style guides, or citation styles, or research formats. Do you know that there are different ways to eat an apple? Like you could slice it and eat the spears, you could bite into it, you could boil the apple and then puree it and eat it as applesauce. That's what styles are. They're different ways to eat a research apple. However, each has a very specific purpose. Just like someone without front teeth wouldn't bite into an apple, and just like a baby would need to eat an apple in sauce form, different contexts require different citation styles. You're probably familiar with MLA. MLA is the preferred style for literary research. Since literary research often references books, anthologies, and passages in those books, the style is designed to work especially well with that kind of research focus. There are other styles you might hear of, like Chicago, or IEEE, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. However, the two main ones you will see in high school or your collegiate education are MLA or APA. APA stands for American Psychological Association. Its goal is to help writers format their work in a way that's easy to transmit their scientific or social science research. You can see that one of the key features of this style is putting the year in the parenthetical citation. This is helpful when there's an expert in the field, say someone like Dr. Duvall, who has written a lot of stuff and whose multitudinous work you want to cite. As you're using APA to write your research paper, try to remember why the style was developed. If you keep in mind that the goal of the style is to have you adequately demonstrate you've selected valid scientific sources, it'll help you understand why certain things are done the way they are. If you go to college and take classes in psychology, education, or sociology, you'll probably have to use this style. Let's take a moment to talk about some of the key citation and formatting features of APA. This slide's a little heavy, so maybe you want to take some notes or something. If you do, go ahead and hit pause. First, unlike MLA, APA requires a title page. On that page, you'll want your name, the title, and your school. APA also has unique headers, and that will go on your title page too. It uses this thing called a running head. If you have a few moments sometime, look into that. We'll go over it in more detail later. In addition to headers, APA allows writers to use headings and subheadings. But it has different levels of headings and different font styles for each. It can actually be a bit complicated. Like MLA, authors are organized alphabetically by last name. If you have multiple works by the same author, you would organize those by date, with the most recent first. If you look at these examples here, you'll see how that works. Here's something that might take a bit of getting used to. On the reference page, titles of articles you read will be written in sentence case. What that means is that you don't capitalize words if they aren't the beginning, after a colon, or a proper noun. Take a look at the examples on the right. Oops, sorry. These are examples of how you will cite an APA. The big difference here is that APA uses the year. It will add the page number if you're using a direct quotation. All right, now let's advance. Here's the thing though, APA isn't just a citation style. It has some guidelines for how to write. So let's talk about that for a bit. When writing in APA, try to avoid using direct quotations. APA wants you to show that you can synthesize research, and part of that means being able to reword what sources say. Here's the general rule of thumb. Unless an author said something so amazingly well, don't use a direct quotation. Quick, pause. Remember this word for later, pencil. In the past, You might have taken this quotation and put it in your paper. Well, there's nothing unique here. Johnson Henry didn't say this in a really amazing way, so don't use a direct quotation. Instead, maybe write, Lincoln was able to garner such a lasting legacy because he was an important figure whose presidency made an impact on many other presidents after him. Henry, 2013. You still used Henry's idea, but you showed that you understood what he said by putting it in writing. And very importantly, you still gave Henry credit for the idea. This is also an example of the next bullet. You want to integrate your citations or sources into your writing without calling attention to them. It's clunky to put in the middle of your writing, Johnson said, or according to. You don't need to do that if you use the example we have here. Also, I use this as an example because it's not your place to editorialize. Please don't just tell me that Lincoln was influential. The point of research is to show me that you've read the research and that other people support what you're saying. Make sure you have that citation when you make all your claims. Now that you've had a somewhat brief introduction to what makes APA unique, I hope you enjoyed the process of learning how to use this style. Even if you end up using other styles in college or your career, knowing how to work with one style and knowing how to research style guidelines will help you use that style too.